Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward. Chapter 106. Calian waited, his face grim. The men in the tight circle of lamplight howled like jackals, laughing at every turn of the cards. Calian had lost most of his wager. These men were playing with loaded dice. He was sure of it now. The dark looks he got from his companions had stayed his hand. He wouldn't be the first one to notice they had skewed the odds in their favor. The glares he got were meant to threaten him, bully him into silence. With the shorter man's eyes still hot on his back from where he had left him waiting, Calian did not look forward to meeting with the man any sooner than he had to. He could see the thick knives and heavy cudgels where they hung, belted to the men he sat with. They dared him to speak. He was an outsider here, a fact that was not lost on him at the moment. He needed an edge. Another turn of the cards and he would be completely ruined. Like a fool, he had accepted the dark liquor they had placed in front of him. Now, he realized, it must have been drugged. Anyone who sat down was liable to have his coin taken, if not his life. He needed to stall for time. If he moved to leave, they would follow him out into the alley. He had little faith in the proclaimed officer keeping his neck attached to his body. The man had given him the feel that Azric wouldn't mind if he brought him back alive or dead. He wondered at the man's deeper motives. For the moment, he had to keep his head level and stay conscious. That would mean staying in the game. He had risen earlier to use the privy, and one of the other men had been kind enough to help him find it. The man had said he wanted to make sure Calian didn't get lost. Calian knew the man had been sent to make sure he didn't try to bolt. No doubt, they thought him a foolish dandy nobleman who was in well over his head. He wouldn't leave alone tonight if it were up to them. Damn, but he was so tired. His eyes felt heavy, and he felt like he was floating outside his body. His arms responded sluggishly when he tried to move them. It was no good. If he fell unconscious, he might never wake again. He tried to call to someone. Hell, even the help of the officer would be welcome. But all that came out was an incoherent mumble. "Don't worry, Sonny. Your turn will be soon again now. You just wait for Sally to take this hand." The older woman smiled wickedly at him, and he realized she'd been in on the scam from the beginning. His thoughts had trouble staying with him for more than a moment. He numbly bobbed his head, the only movement he could muster, and she cackled like a crone. "Hey now, Sally, don't be so rough on the young gentleman. I'm sure he has to get back to his lady love all in one piece. We should make sure we leave him enough to take her to the theater." One of the younger men smirked, not bothering to hide his disrespect. "I say we take everything off his back," another man piped in, his dark eyes roaming over to Calian's coin pouch. "Quiet, Russ. We run a fair game here. Isn't that right, Sally?" The heavy-set older man looked over to Sally with a wink. "Let the boy try his luck. Maybe he can win back 30 bronze marks we took off him. Maybe it's time to bring out some gold." She looked feral in the low lantern light that shook periodically whenever someone leaned on the table too much. Sally placed the cup next to Calian, and he found his hands shook so uncontrollably he was unable to keep it righted. "Lords and ladies, I'll bet you need a young woman to keep your prick aimed at the jakes," one of the young men jeered. "Sally, why don't you help him roll, unless he's afraid his pride might be tarnished?" The fellow broke off in a wheezing laugh, the rest of the table echoing in with him. Calian could see the undisguised hunger in their eyes. Like a ravening pack of hyenas, they crooned to each other while poking at him, their prey. Even the well-dressed gentleman had turned against him, happy to have someone else be the focus of the table's ire. The gentleman's dark smile suggested his heart was no less black than the rest of the others. Even the bedraggled-looking foreigner had let his facade drop. He had been in league with them from the onset. He was the lure to draw in the suckers, give the appearance that any fool could win coin off the unsuspecting group of locals. Calian tried to think, but his head hurt too much. It felt full to the brim with drink. He clawed for consciousness, while his faculties gave way as time went on. He could no longer form sentences. He tried rising, but one of the other men put a friendly hand on his shoulder, keeping him seated. "Where you going, your lordship? There's still plenty of coin to be won. It would be right unneighborly of me to rob you of the chance to win back what you've already lost." The man held a grim smile. None of it touched his dark eyes. "That's right. Stay a while and keep us company, your grace. We'd miss you awful fierce if you were to leave just now. No sense in all that with all the free drink Al got here for you. Come on now, drink up." It was an order more than a cheer. The mug was pushed with no small amount of force at Calian. The men waited to see if he would raise it to his lips. Calian wavered. His hand couldn't grasp the handle. "Aw, shucks. Looks like he'll need your help again, Sally." A beaming grin split the bearded man's face. Sally moved to lift the mug. Calian spluttered, trying to push it away. He was only met with laughter. Armed men entered the tavern. "Everyone out!" Steel-studded fists rang hard on the tables and lengths of the bar as patrons scrambled wildly to meet their demands. "By order of Lord Azric, this tavern is under suspicion of harboring fugitives from the law. Any man or woman who stays will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Terror welled into the ragged populace. Those too drunk to stand wobbled on unsteady legs and made for the door in the mad exodus that followed. The denizens of the back room where the cards were being played swore openly. "Sand and maggots! What on earth would bring a local magistrate to this corner of the city?" One of the beefy men scowled, his eyebrows rising to his hairline. "Pa, we should get out while we can. If they catch us on charges..." The grimy-faced son of the older man stank with fear. "Damn, there's no exit back here." Another dark-eyed man stabbed a finger at Calian. "You," he hissed. "Somehow I bet you're to blame for bringing this curse on us." A clatter and a crash announced the two heavily muscled bodyguards who spilled into the back room. One was already fitting his hand to a set of brass knuckles. "Didn't hear me, eh, lads?" The man loomed over the table, his partner pulling out a heavy truncheon and a set of manacles. "To your feet, you lousy dogs!" The crack of the truncheon spurred the men into movement. With hateful glances, the men backed away from the table, moving more quickly now that the guard stood in front of them. "Aye, run home to your whore sisters," one of the guards said with a chuckle. Sally cast a baleful eye at the pair, and they only grinned more broadly. Sally looked away in disgust, moving unhurriedly to the door. "Pity you lads couldn't find a woman between the two of you," Sally sneered as she left the building. Calian slumped over onto the ground, falling from his chair. "You too, Gully. What are you, daft?" With a swing of his truncheon, a sickening crunch sounded when it connected with Calian's side. He gasped in pain before drooling on the floor, lying in an odd tangle of limbs as his numb hands tried to clutch his side. The other guard raised his boot, and a strong voice cut in. "Cease." It was a quiet word, but the thug instantly stopped mid-motion when he heard the voice and backed away, head down. Calian lay bleeding and woozy, faintly wondering how many of his ribs had been broken. His breathing sounded heavy in his ears. His senses were still distorted from the drug he had been slipped. "Phew," he mumbled groggily. Taking all the effort he could muster, he planted a sweaty palm on the floorboards of the establishment, trying to heave himself into a sitting position. He failed. "Leave us." It was a command, wrought in iron. The two guards left obediently, their silent footsteps covered by the sounds of the storming night. Distantly, Calian could hear the breaking of bones and a cry in the night. Maybe someone outside wasn't so lucky. Dangerous men they were. Who was this man with a voice of iron? "I have gone to great lengths to arrange this meeting. Even now I must move with haste. But enough. It has been years. Do you remember?" The strong voice was rich and full. A man's voice. Someone who expected to be obeyed implicitly. His friend had changed. "Azric," Calian stammered, his mouth still refusing to work properly. His tongue felt like a ball of wax and cotton. "Always the grand entrance. Why were you obstinate? My man could have secreted you easily into the city." "Where's the fun in that?" Calian tried to smirk, but it came out as more of a half-groan, half-cringe. His mouth refused to operate to his wishes. What were his wishes again? I need you, Kalian. The statement was simple, cold. Where's the whining and dining? I thought you would be less needy. Old French and all, you know. I have my reasons. Azric stood and slowly walked over to one of the upturned tables and righted it. Cards and dice spilled to the floor in the chaos. Mugs of ale lay on their sides, the cool liquid already soaking into the dark floorboards. I would like to explain, but there is no time. I must be away. I am a watched man, Kalian. Spies are everywhere in the city. Assassins, too. I'm sure of it. What do you need me to do? Kalian's jaw ached, but he was able to form words again, with effort. Cut to it, man. I know you better than this. You never asked. You just commanded. Why do you think I left all those years ago? Kalian did not smile as he looked over at his friend. So it is. I will pay you. I won't take your gold. Don't tarnish me with your kind gestures. Kalian spat out the words, slowly regaining his full faculties. You're still a shit. You always have been. Lord Azric turned away, not speaking for a moment. His hands trembled visibly, but he kept his voice even. When he eventually spoke, he showed no sign of emotion. I will forgive this lapse, since we have known each other for many years. Azric turned, his expression dour. I wanted this to go differently. Understand, I need a man of your unique skills. Coming here was a gamble. Kalian scowled in disgust. You haven't changed so much after all. You're needy and a shit. Azric remained impassive. But you need me. You always did. And damn you as I might, I will not turn from you now. What happened to you? My father died. He was a weak man, but I see some of his genius only now. He was a master of intrigue, and kept warring interests turned against each other, constantly directed away from his own interests. He fell to his base desires more than anything, but as a strategist I have much to learn from him. Azric moved to sit in one of the empty chairs, his arm draping over one of the meager armrests. He was oblivious to the effect it had on his rich clothing, smearing the fabric with dirt and grime. I fear for my life, Azric continued. I am embroiled in a serpent's nest of assassins, and others who would wish me dead for one reason or another. My fall from prominence in the great seat of power in Khybar has left echoes even here. I need you to find the assassins and kill them. It will be ugly work, but you will be compensated. The strength of my name will open doors that would be otherwise barred for you. I need your trust, your loyalty. I am sorry it has come to this, my friend. You never feared anything in the past. If you met an enemy, you simply removed him from your path. There has been nothing that the money and power of your family has not been able to handle before. Why am I the only one who can help you now? I do not love this thing you ask of me. Why are you coming to me? Kalian let out a groan. Trying to stand only brought more pain to his side. Damn, those brutes of yours can really swing a bludgeon. They may have broken some of my ribs. You will be seen to by my best healers in secret. I will not be able to bring you to my keep, however. I will send them to you. I have arranged for a small staging area for you to operate out of. It is in the poor quarter and hides its true function from the outside, but it will meet your requirements. Of that I can be sure. And why you? I am loath to give others power over me. To give away the tethers of control is to step into the grave willingly. No, no one must know of our connection. They will use it against me. If they discover you have helped me, they will torture you until you beg for your release, but it will not come. I will keep you informed and abreast as often as is deemed safe, although the movements of my servants will be tracked, so I cannot promise that help is too obvious. I will send hired men to assist you. If you deem that they have an ulterior motive, relieve them of this world. Do not wait. You have my trust. A knock sounded on the outer door of the tavern, and immediately Azric rose and moved to leave. Tension was clear in his movements. In parting, he said, "I will have those who were relieve you of your coin killed. Their heads will decorate the spikes of the battlements nearest the gates of the city. I will do this for you. I cannot linger. Thank you, Calian." Calian picked himself up wearily, his mind a tumble of questions that he had been unable to bring forth. What had he gotten himself into? It was clear Azric was powerful, but he had never spoken as to the direct cause of his father's death. Calian had held no love for the man, but he wondered, was Azric capable of killing his own father? The fact that he could not immediately answer this question disturbed him greatly. Who was this strange man? Was there anything left of the younger man he had known? He doubted it. A creak announced the opening of a door. A strong gust of wind sounded before dying down again to nothing. Calian was no longer alone. "Who's there?" Calian slowly pulled himself towards the lightly swinging wooden door that separated the back room from the bar proper. He could use a sturdy drink to steady him, but he doubted that his body would comply. Calian felt worn out. He was ready for the events of the day to be over and done with. "Come out, man!" A short, aged woman came into the pool of moonlight that filtered through one of the windows. Her eyes flashed, but her expression was serene. "Come," was all she said. The woman was garbed in a rugged shawl that pulled over her shoulders for warmth. She had the look of a medicine woman that you might see on the street of any of the major cities. Her darkly tanned skin was tight across her scalp, with her hair held up in a bun. She looked little more than tendons and sinew. One bony arm hiked up towards the door. "Move, you sluggard!" Stepping gingerly, Calian attempted to follow the woman, his curiosity set aside for the possibility of receiving medical attention, however slight.